So these are the best things about Perth if you're thinking about relocating here. So I've lived in Perth for 30 years now, and there's reasons why that I've stayed here. I did start off growing up in a small city, Christchurch in New Zealand, and that was where I spent the first 22 years of my life. And since then, I've travelled across to Europe and lived in a very large city. So London at the time was about 15 million people. Obviously a very large city with a lot of people, very different to Christchurch. And now I've landed in Perth. I've been here for 30 years, and there's reasons why I haven't left. So if you're thinking about relocating to Perth, stick around and I'll go through some reasons as to why I've stayed here for so long. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe button. Okay. So the number one reason why I have stayed in Perth is because of the weather. And you'll get a lot of people talking to you about the weather in Perth. And if you know anything about Perth, you'll realise it's a very sunny place. And it has very hot weather in the summer. It cools down a lot in the winter. And it gets a lot of rain during the winter season because you really don't get any during the summer at all. So we get temperatures up to over 40 degrees in the summer. They're generally speaking a handful of days, but you do get a lot of high 30s and mid 30s and even in the low 30s. But really, once summer's kicked in, you don't get too much, if anything, under 30 degrees. It's mostly in that mid to high 30 range. So it's hot and you get a lot of sun, which I love. I love getting a lot of sun because, it affects my mood. If I feel better, then it's a bit crazy, because when you live in Perth, you might get a couple of days or a week or so of bad weather, and suddenly you're starting to feel not so good about it. So, when I lived in London, it was unusual back then to have any real nice days. You didn't get too many of them. You could count on the fingers of one hand how many decent days you could have, where there are blue sunny skies all day long. So the weather is definitely probably the biggest reason why I've stayed here. I lived in two colder places, then came here, and I really believe that it's the weather that is the main reason that I'm here, because it's very hard to downgrade from that once you get used to the better weather. It's the sunniest capital in Australia. We get about 9 hours a day. So that's number one, the weather. Number two is the beaches. Okay, so you've got the weather, you've got the beaches. If you like the beach, then we've got beautiful beaches over here, fantastic coastline. In fact, the whole of Western Australia has unbelievable beaches. But in Perth itself, we've got beautiful white sandy beaches, powdery sand, beautiful clear water. It's, what else do you have to say about it? The sun sinks into the ocean. So that's another benefit of living in the West. You get to see the sunset over the ocean. And, you don't have to drive for miles to get to these beaches either. These are within the city limits. So, for example, the city, if you drove directly west out to the beach, you'd hit City Beach, hence it's called City Beach. And that's probably a 15 to 20 minute drive to get there. So, it's within the city limits. And most people congregate to try and live on the beach, which is probably why, for our population of around 2.3 million people, we've got a relatively low or relatively small CBD, because everyone wants to live on that coastline because it's so nice. Okay, so number three is the laid-back lifestyle. So again, if you know anything about Perth, it's pretty laid back. Some people would say it's quiet or boring even. I don't find that at all. I find most people that say places anywhere in the world that's boring, I've done a fair bit of travelling myself, they're generally boring, not the place that they go to. Perth itself has actually come along leaps and bounds the last 10 years. I've really seen it as a growing, kind of changing city. A lot of buildings going up inside the CBD. We've had the new entertainment centre built, which is the indoor arena that we have concerts from all over the world. It's around about a 16,000 capacity. And we've had the new stadium done, so you get bigger sporting events here. That's a 60,000 capacity, beautiful state-of-the-art stadium. And so Perth is really a place that is definitely on the move. The population's really growing. Last year we had the highest percentage-wise of people moving into the state. It's a very spread out city. A lot of people like to go and live out on the coast, which stretches for a long way along that coastline, down towards Mandurah and up to Two Rocks. So that's a pretty big stretch. And the lifestyle here it's kind of reminds me when I get back from places like Europe and overseas where it's a lot busier. And you come back here, you just feel like your shoulders drop back an inch or so, and you just feel very grateful to be able to live in a place like this. So lifestyle, the chill back lifestyle, I'd say, is really a big one for me too. Number 4 is the annual salary here is apparently higher than anywhere else out of any capital cities in Australia. So we've got the highest median income here. So the median income here is about 77,000 gross a year before tax, 77,000 gross. And that's about apparently $200 more a week than the median income throughout Australia. So that's another bonus, of course. I would agree. I'll probably get some people commenting on here that in certain industries you need to go maybe to Sydney or Melbourne to get work, and that's possibly true. So if you're in specific industries, you're thinking about moving to Perth, obviously you want to do deeper research to understand what Perth has here, and if the industry that you're looking at, if it has that type of work that you're looking for, if it has that kind of level that you want to be able to move to over here, or whether you have to be looking somewhere else. But the income here is very high. That would be partly attributed to the fact mining incomes are very, very high. Of course, that's a huge sector here. So that was derived from a article in Forbes that was done by PayScale. So I've noted over the years that Perth's, roughly very, very similar to the Sydney incomes. And you have to realise that, if Perth and Sydney are getting roughly the same kind of incomes, Sydney's house prices are about twice as much as they are here. So potentially you can live a pretty good lifestyle over here and get paid very well to do it. So number 5 is the house prices. So house prices over here compared to other capital cities are very good value, but that is a fact that's changing very quickly. So they've been growing for a couple of years quite strongly. We've moved into our growth cycle now, and they're probably going to keep going for another 5 years or so. So if you're thinking about moving to Perth and you're looking at house prices, bear in mind that these are going to be very, very different every year that we go from here on in, because we are in the growth cycle, and like I said, that won't stop for probably another 5 years. So house prices now are still very good value, even though we've had that 2-year growth spurt that's brought us into our growth part of the market. The median house price, according to REWA, is at the moment 650,000. So it really depends on which agency you look at. CoreLogic have us at about well over 700,000. So they get their stats from different places. I normally just go with REWA, but it's well renowned. It's well known at the moment that the house price here are low. But as I said, that's a fluctuating thing. It's changing very quickly. So if you're thinking about moving, definitely worth looking at what you would be buying now before prices get too crazy. Okay, they're my 5 reasons, and they're why I think you'll love moving to Perth. So just click like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.